All right, everybody, welcome to the Scho-Zone. It's your host, Ryan Schofield, coming at you back in my little studio here, back in the lovely Albany, New York region. Thank you for tuning in. All right, I'm trying something new here. I'm trying to do a live stream using this new technology, and it's a nightmare. But, there's only a couple people watching, or they're just really trying to gain any traction. So thank you for tuning in. If you are tuning in or if you end up watching this later, if you could just do the bare minimum of just a like, subscribe, and a comment, I'd appreciate that. I don't even care what the comment is. You can tell me something bad about myself. It's the only way I'm going to get better as far as I'm concerned. But thank you for tuning in to the Scho-Zone. There might be some new subscribers on here. I don't like to get into the numbers because they're not the biggest as they would be, but the percentages are trending in the right direction. Every time I do one of these trips, I add a few more of yous, and ideally, just slowly but surely build this thing up because I don't really have anything better to do. There's no baseball games for me to go to, or I probably could be down in Philadelphia right now to watch Yankees Phillies, but being amongst Phillies and Yankee fans for an afternoon just doesn't seem like it's in the really my ideal of a good afternoon on a warm day, although I did like Philadelphia's ballpark an awful lot, and I do think that they're going to win today, and I would love to see the Yankees lose, but that's just my personal preferences. So anyways, thanks for tuning in. Like I said, just kind of freewheeling it here. I'm kind of the worst, I guess I would say that, I had a scheduled live stream that I had somebody waiting for, and then I fucked up with my camera, figured out how to fix that. So again, work in progress. I am baseball-centric kind of guy. You're allowed to make one mistake, sometimes even two, but 3 strikes, you're out. So I won't do that one again. That's how I don't learn by learning. I learn by making my mistakes, which I've made fucking so many in my life that's why I'm starting to think I'm kind of smart because I accept the blame for them, unlike other people who just blame everybody else. I mean, it's way easier to do what they do, but a lot harder to do this one, I'll tell you that much. But anyway, so why am I doing this? I have to ask myself that all the time. It's just, I like to fill in some time here. And, I'm on a day off from work today. Days off from work are not meant to be just a day off from work. They're meant to be a day living your life. I don't really think that sitting around, if I wasn't recording this right now, I'd probably be scrolling through, looking at other people's content. So I'd rather be someone that maybe creates this. And if you're somebody that's scrolling, hopefully you find this interesting, or hopefully you find, a like-minded personality here. But, so the basis of this is going. I just started recording a couple months ago and didn't have any idea where it's going, but it seems to be a little bit of like a travel blog kind of thing. I'm traveling around from ballpark to ballpark and doing this kind of as I go on all the time. It's like I have a great deal of money or anything like that. I just make the sacrifices in life to be able to do the things I want to do. And, I have to do sometimes it's not the easiest day to get this done. Like, for example, I've done 2 ballparks in a day and back, which, some people, it doesn't sound like the most attractive thing to, like Yankee Stadium for me. That's where I'll start this one off on. Last Monday, I went to Yankee Stadium, as I've kind of posted about. And, for the most part, this page has been dedicated to posting the shorts that I get when I'll take some good videos at ballparks or things that I think I can, maybe interesting, post them as shorts. People watch them. Then we get some subscriptions here. And then when we get more subscribers, it's kind of like the tip jar. If you ever work a job where, you get tips, if you leave an empty jar there, very few people are going to put into it. But if you start it off with some of your money, it makes it look like everybody else is tipping, more people are likely to join it. And I've noticed that since I had more subscribers, I get more subscribing out there. Really wish my buddy here for the Asian dick sucking party, as he called it, Alex, I was one of my guys from Camden Yards that was, joined the party here. So, thankfully if you're having him, hopefully he tunes in at some point. But, there's this thing kind of about everything I do where, I don't think I make life as easy as I possibly can, but I like to make it interesting. There's this concept. I went to college for 6 years. I didn't really learn much in college, in school anyways. I just pay a shitload of debts back, that's all on me. Again, I was a fucking idiot. I'm not going to blame anybody for how much student loan debt I have. I could have prevented a lot of that, but I kind of used my student loans to finance a lifestyle that was really kind of killing me and unlivable. Yeah, I'm going to vape on the show, which is probably stupid. But anyway, so I did learn about this one concept called flow. And I learned about flow. It's from this philosopher named Csikszentmihalyi. Could never spell it in a million years. I just remember how to pronounce it because we discussed it for a while. But anyways, the concept of flow would kind of pertain to sports when we were discussing it. And it's the idea when the level of challenge and the level of reward kind of meet each other. So if you've ever played sports, sometimes the game kind of slows down for you, or, things get easier, or it gets satisfying where, the level of challenge and the level of reward are equal to that. So I've kind of incorporated that to a lot of aspects of life. I don't necessarily do things the most efficient sometimes. I would say that sometimes I build flow out of my life where I intentionally set a challenge to things, but the reward is getting it done, I guess. We'll kind of look at it as, for example, I work in sales. I could probably make a lot more money doing that, but I don't like being a piece of shit, basically, for a lack of a better term. So by doing that, by being an honest person, I'm making the job that much harder. But when I do succeed at being an honest person, it's that much more rewarding. So I'm kind of, I operate in that realm. Kind of a similar idea with when I drive, like, for even example, on Monday, when I drove to Camden Yards, which is 5 hours and change from where I live, and back in a day. That sounds like a terrible day to a lot of people, but for me, it was actually quite exhilarating. I got to, most things I do when I'm not driving or at work, I can do while I'm in my car. It's basically listening to podcasts, or, maybe I'm not watching shows, but I'm just listening to them. That's fine, because I at least accomplished something. I had never been to Camden Yards before. Now I've been to Camden Yards before. Driving to me is not that difficult. It's really just stay in the lanes. Don't kill anybody. Don't kill yourself. That's a very, very good challenge when you're driving. Okay, I need to get back to where I need to be, and I need to not do that. It's not a really, high challenge, I would say. I mean, driving for extended periods of time can be, but the reward of not killing anybody or yourself is very, very high, I would say. So I also kind of look at that, as I mentioned, I'm in sales. I sell things, which then I have people that deliver the things that I sell. I sell furniture. So the average person that delivers the stuff that I sell, they are in a car most of the day. They take a little break of driving, but the break of driving is to unload stuff and carry it into people's homes. Not as much fun as watching a baseball game. So if those guys can do that every day, I can once a week or so make a extended road trip to knock something off a little bit of a checklist here, which is to see every ballpark in America. I guess I would say, I'm going through a midlife crisis of sorts, and I'm only going to be young enough to do stuff like I just mentioned, these long days where, maybe sleeping 4 hours a day is not the healthiest, but, I can get away with it now. I probably won't be able to get away with that in a couple of years, but if I keep going at it, I can keep extending it a little bit further. So that's kind of the concept of flow. And if just a little bit of opening, word salad that I just kind of gave you there. But let's get to the meat of this, the actual ballpark trips I've got. I had to update my ticker there because I was doing upcoming ballpark trips. Now I'm going to go kind of the year that I've recapped on now. It's quite impressive. I see them scrolling along the lines. I have been to 11 ballparks so far this year, and I have plans to make it to a few more. I'm actually going to be heading up to Target Field in Minneapolis in like 2 weeks. And one of the things I've always wanted out of this show, I've done podcasting in the past, and I've had interesting experiences of meeting people who listen to my show, because I kind of spill a lot of it on the table. So it's very fun to meet somebody who knows you but doesn't know you, or they know the version that you presented to themselves. And you get to do a little bit of self-reflection on, do I like that people think that's who I am? For the most part, I do. I'm quite comfortable in who I am. And if you don't like it, well, there's plenty of other channels that you can watch. Thank you for tuning in. But, just tell somebody that, hey, check out this asshole, because that seems to be the biggest thing. What goes on with the internet is that we actually pay more attention to people that bother us versus people that we actually enjoy. I always think back to one of my favorite movies growing up, or I don't know my favorite movies, but a movie I watched a bunch and saw some value in was the movie Private Parts, the Howard Stern movie. And there's always one part in that where when Howard is making it big in New York City, there's the scene with the producer, Pig Vomit, played by Paul Giamatti, son of Bart Giamatti, who is trying to figure out, when he's told that the average Stern follower or fan listens for a half an hour a day, and the reason most commonly cited was that they want to hear what he would say next. The average person that hated him listened for 2.5 hours a day, and was for the exact same reason. I kind of find that because, as something I did recently, which is probably really detrimental to anything I'm doing here, because I probably would gain some views here and there. Actually, the analytics do suggest I still have a Twitter account. You can see it scrolling by there, Scho525. I'm nowhere near as active as I used to be. I actually deleted the app off my phone because I found that I was spending most of my day scrolling through, reading people that pissed me off and trying to argue with them. And whether or not they were actually even people is actually the sad part, because after seeing how they, have the AI bots that kind of, intentionally, do the engagement baiting, I guess we would say, because people react to shit that they hate, and they don't really react to things that they don't hate. I mean, I trying to work on this a little bit better. I am not the first person to compliment anybody with something nice that they do, but I'm pretty quick to jump down their throat when they do something stupid. So I should probably work on that a little bit. But enough about me and, ways to live life. Let's go to the ballparks. I made my first trip, so we'll track it to last Monday. Last Monday, I made my first trip to the new Yankee Stadium. Had to give it a shot. I only live; it's about 2.5 hours away from me, so it's not a bad trip down there. But honestly, I probably won't be doing it again. And it's not because actually it is. The old Yankee Stadium at least had some history, and it had been there for God knows how long, and all of the folklore or the appeal of being a Yankees fan, all that stuff that happened before the Yankees fans that I lived with were alive, happened inside of that stadium. The new stadium, they won a World Series in 2009. Other than that, has anything really great happened there? Jeter got his 3,000, but these are Yankee moments. I guess they can be baseball moments. Aaron Judge's, a little home run thing that he had there, whether or not there was the Goldilocks ball or not, whatever that, but there's just not as much has happened there. And it doesn't have that same feel to it. Like I remember being there for the first inning or two, there's just really not being any life. And that's one of the things about Yankee Stadium is that you can't judge the crowd by the beginning of the game. It doesn't really fill up until the middle of the game, but they still pack the place for the day game. And I guess maybe part of the reason that there wasn't as much vibe and atmosphere is that people are engaged in the game, but just didn't really have the greatest, time with Yankee Stadium, I guess. Or maybe I kind of rate my ballpark visits on the whole total surrounding area, and nothing against the Bronx. It's just that they're driving in New York City. That's part of the way I make these trips. Driving in New York City is fucking less than ideal, to say the least. There's really no rules to the road. I noticed when I was in a right turn only lane, I noticed that the two lanes next to me were all turning right. No accidents were had, but it's just kind of one of those, just kind of just do what you want to do. As I kind of said at one point, being in South Bronx, driving out of there to get back up to upstate New York, certain streets I was on, as I say, if there wasn't English written on the signs outside of the buildings, I wouldn't have known what country I was in, not because of, the people around me or anything, but just the overall scene I was seeing. I was in a road that barely looked like it fit two cars on it, but there was quite a few lanes of vehicles. You got guys in mopeds just kind of weaving in and out of traffic there. People just kind of walking in droves. And I just kind of was like, this just looks like when I've seen, I was thinking back to seeing some footage from a city in the Philippines or something like that. And it's just, once you get out of there, things change a little bit. But Yankee Stadium overall just was not, it just has an empty feel to it. I don't know. And maybe because of the surrounding areas, they do have the high walls in the outfield because you don't really want to see what's going on, or not that the Bronx is terrible, but it's not an attractive looking skyline when you compare it to the next stadiums that I went to. So then did that. And again, I'm utilizing this I'm not on vacation. That was just a day off. Basically the highlight of that trip for me was I got to meet up. My brother was randomly there. And it's not that me and my brother don't like each other. We just don't really, he's one of these guys that just doesn't believe in senseless communication, kind of the same way, even though I'm doing a show that's full of senseless communication, but, ran into him there, and that was see him for a little bit. But I actually left sometime later on in the seventh inning or so. It was a blowout game. The Rays were on getaway day. And obviously that was the last kind of version of those Rays because they started trading guys away throughout there. The highlight experience of the game, Jose Siri, they're already down 5-0 to the Yankees. And Jose Siri hits a home run and takes a little bit of a while. The Rays, it's funny. Their organization, they do baseball correctly. Their players, the best way I can describe it, they play the way that Florida man would play. I'm not one of those old man yelling at clouds, but they are a little excessive and a little bit flamboyant, I guess, in their celebrations. When they have to stop at third base to look at the dugout, it's something that they do. It just annoys the fuck out of people sometimes. Jose Siri did that. Next at bat wore a fastball, which was, very unlike Yankees usually, or at least under Joe Girardi. I know that they used to never throw back at people. And Tampa kind of has their way with them a little bit. Tampa kind of, plays a punk move that they always throw at the Yankees because they know the Yankees aren't going to do anything back. Well, they did that back. Then later on, the other revenge they got was Juan Soto hit a home run, which we didn't know. I couldn't tell whether it was fair or foul for a little bit. In fact, I don't think he knew. There was I have a video that I posted as a short, so you can follow it on my page, that I can't see that we can't tell in the crowd. I was sitting on the first base line. We couldn't tell whether it was fair or foul for a little while, so there's a little bit of a delayed reaction before they start cheering. Juan Soto used that moment to kind of show up the Rays, and he took I think it counted, it was 38 seconds total. I don't know how much of that was before he do a home run, but took David Ortiz thought he needed to hurry it up, getting around the base type of trot. So that was just Yankee Stadium the one day. I actually played in a softball game later that day and actually had one of the best games of my career. Not that you guys care to hear about that, but I wish that there was a video of the catch I made. You would have been very, very surprised at how much ground I covered and how gracefully I made that catch. I ended up going like 5 for 5 that game. And yeah, I had a home run. Yeah, it's just wild, impressive stuff from this little ginger guy here. And as usually, especially since I usually don't hit for power, I'm usually a singles hitter. But then grinded it out, went to work the day. Then after I got out of work, I went and I drove out to Rochester, New York, which is about 3 hours from here. Met up with some friends, crashed. Then the next day, we did 2 ballparks in one day. And I'm going to tell you, if you're ever looking for a great ballpark trip and you're like me and you're trying to knock off all 30, a great way to get 2 ballparks in one day. Look for a spot on the schedule where Pittsburgh is playing an afternoon game and Cleveland is playing a night game. I swear it's like they designed these ballparks to make that trip possible. Drove into Pittsburgh. One of the best parts about going to Pittsburgh, I love the Primanti Brothers sandwich. It's fucking delicious, and it's everything you need, basically just all in a bun. The story behind that, again, was so that truckers could get an entire lunch, but not have to break up their routes. So it's a loaf of Italian bread or 2 slices of Italian bread, and loaded in between it is French fries, coleslaw, tomato slice, and then your sandwich of choice. So it's your sides all on the sandwich. Great, great Italian bread. It doesn't disappoint. What I couldn't figure out was right next to me. We were raving. 3 of us got, a drink, no booze or anything, but 3 sandwiches and everything. I think our check was like $40. Next door was a Five Guys. If I wanted to eat at Five Guys, I'm $25 deep on that one. And you can go to Five Guys anywhere. That's a whole thing. When you're visiting a different city, and it really is depressing too, in this little spot, like the central market of Pittsburgh, I believe it was all just fucking regular businesses that I could find anywhere in America. Like, my buddy made the joke about Jimmy John's being there. Like it was all just regular, Jimmy John's and Chipotle, they're all in all these major cities. And it's like, can I just get something that is unique to this area? Then you get to Pittsburgh, and again, Pittsburgh is just there's no traffic in Pittsburgh as far as I'm concerned. We parked in a parking spot, walked across the bridge. We're in the ball game. Beautiful ballpark. Up until many people, when I post stuff on PNC Park, they say it's the best ballpark in America. I'm not going to say that they're wrong. It's just not my personal favorite. I'd like to be there for a night game again. I was there way back when, but the Cardinals were getting their ass kicked. And yeah, that was the only takeaway I had from a Pittsburgh night game. But during the day game, I'll just say I was sitting behind home plate in the 3rd level. It said it was 80 degrees out. I'm not sure if there was a 1 missing in front of that because I was fucking roasting. I actually felt like I sweat out my Primanti Brothers sandwich. Made the mistake of my one buddy who had never had a Zyn. I gave him a 6 milligram Zyn for his first Zyn. Long story short, Primanti Brothers did not make it out of the back end on him. It made it out of the way it came out. But we had a good time in Pittsburgh. The Cardinals absolutely fucking sucked. I've seen the Cardinals play 3 games this year. They've scored 3 runs. And those all actually came in one game, the one game I saw them win. Yes, they beat the mighty White Sox. Holy shit, the worst team that's ever existed. So good for the Cardinals in that one. But then I left. We kind of timed. We wanted to make sure we got there in time to Cleveland, making for the fact that we got a couple of grown men. We're going to make some rest stops. So basically, you walk back across the bridges where if you park in that area, there's a parking lot on Stanix Road, I believe I called. It's like $18 to park during a Pirates game. Totally worth it because once you get out of that lot, which we had no problem getting out of, you take a left, you're on the exit that brings you to Cleveland. We made 2 rest stops there, and I think I saw quite a few other Cardinals fans making this exact trip because why else would there just be randomly Cardinals fans in Ohio at the same time that I am? I know that there's a lot of us out there, but I don't think that during the day on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, you're just going to have a lot of guys in rest stops in Ohio decked out in Cardinals gear, which when I would see them, I would just make the comment, we fucking suck. Some people seem to think that was funny. Some people did not care for it. If you don't think the Cardinals suck, I don't know what to tell you. I don't care that they have a winning record. I've been hung up on that negative run differential for a long time. It's not changing. They're continuously staying right around that, minus 40 runs for the year. The Pythagorean is not an end-all be-all, but at some point in time, if you're not beating your opponents handily, it just shows that you're just really not improving so much. So that little stretch of wins that they had a month ago, I think that was more based on scheduling and opportunity versus on the team actually being better. But we'll get to the Cardinals at another point probably, or maybe I'll rant on them in a minute. We pull into Cleveland. We get right to Cleveland, pull to the parking spot there. We even parked like a half a mile away from the stadium. Again, another $18 parking spot, I want to say it was. Walk through Cleveland, which, by the way, both downtown and Pittsburgh and Cleveland, during the summertime, nothing but great things to say. Beautiful. Looks like they're thriving with good businesses, clean streets. Didn't feel unsafe at any point in time. That's always a big thing when you're visiting a new city. Not that occasionally I like to feel unsafe. I've definitely been wandering around some cities and some sketchy parts in America, but here in one piece. So, you can make it through. The odds are always on my side. Okay. The odds of something bad to happen to you are always very, very minimal. Thankfully, there's all those people in my life that think you need to pray every time you leave the house. They pray for me. So I got them on my side. So I'm going well. So get to Cleveland. Yeah. So the whole point of it. Drive from Pittsburgh to Cleveland, the game in Pittsburgh. As we were getting to our car, we heard the fireworks going off for a Pirates victory. Fuck them. But I'd rather see them win with their good, revive baseball in Pittsburgh a little bit. Attendance has been low there, which makes no sense because Paul Skeens only pitches once every 6th day, not even every 5th day. But they should be drawing a little better at that ballpark. And maybe hopefully the Pirates organization spends a little money to try and build a winner for them for the next couple of years because they do have a slight window of making things happen. But yeah, so the drive, get from Pitts to Cleveland, park the car, walk in. We grabbed food at the stadium, had some Mulvey Stadium workers that entertained us, sold us the worst hot dogs we probably could have gotten in the stadium, but hey, they were entertaining. Sit down just in time for the national anthem, which, by the way, I don't know if anybody knows anything about who sang the national anthem in Pittsburgh on Wednesday. Took about 5 minutes, I'd say, for him to get through the Star Spangled Banner. I was sitting there kind of thinking, boy, this is a little long. What's going on here? But it wasn't, I wasn't going to say anything. It was another Pirates fan who finally was just, I think Pirates fans were actually yelling, "You suck," to the guy singing the national anthem in Pittsburgh. Philly fans get all the bad rap. Maybe it's just people in Pennsylvania. I don't know, but I thought that was a little bit disrespectful. Not that I didn't agree with the criticisms, but I figured that time and place, not during the national anthem. Cleveland, much, much better with the girl who sang the national anthem there. But the point is that we went from one ballpark to the other. We got there right in time for the game. There wasn't any of that sitting around the stadium waiting for bullshit to happen kind of thing. The Guardians, this is the Progressive Field at one point in time for about 5 days. I thought I've been there before, but when I was there before, it was very early in my ballpark journey, so I had nothing to really gaze it on. So any ballpark that wasn't Shea Stadium or the old Yankee Stadium seemed like quite a treat to me. I will now, for a little bit, like I said, Progressive Field was what I thought was the best ballpark out there. The Guardians have, again, they don't even draw a ton of fans there too, but you wouldn't be able to tell by the atmosphere there. They really care about their team. There's quite a buzz in the crowd, and the Guardians have the best home record in baseball. I believe that those things are they are somehow related to one another. I look at it as that if that place, and I've seen it packed. I mean, they did lose a Game 7 of the World Series in that place, but again, they also did force extra innings, and the rain delay maybe took some of the win. I'll actually say that. If there was not a rain delay in the 2016 Game 7 of the World Series, the Indians, actually, I'm not going to call them the Guardians anymore. I'm going to call them the Indians. In fact, when I was checking into the ballpark, it still says you still get the Indians in there. So social media hasn't completely gone woke. You can call it the Guardians and you can call them the Indians when you're checking on there. But the Indians should have won the World Series in 2016. That rain delay killed them. And Jason Hayward apparently gave the greatest speech ever, yada, yada, yada. But for going forward in the postseason, if they're hosting, they have home field advantage. That's something to factor in for the handicapping thing because, again, we saw maybe a 2/3 filled stadium and there was quite a buzz in there. I can't imagine with the standing room only there and a bunch of people from Cleveland who people who live in shitty weather, they're always going to be bigger sports fans. It's our only escape from reality of how much it sucks living in the winter in the northern part of the United States. Guardians, they came back, got a nice win for us, or for me anyways. I had a nice little gambling experience there. Jack Flaherty, while he was still a member of the Tigers, had I couldn't believe his over-under for strikeouts was 5.5, and it was plus money weighted to the over. I know that the Guardians are a low strikeout team, but Jack Flaherty has been having a hell of a year. Very curious to see what happens with him now that he is traded to a contender. The complaint I always had with Jack Flaherty when he was on the Cardinals, he just didn't seem like he was a big game pitcher. And yeah, you kind of checked that out. Last year, he got traded to the Orioles, they were supposed to be an acquisition. He ended up being freaking, I don't even think was on the postseason roster or ended up getting demoted out of the rotation. He was awful for them. And I told people that were Orioles fans that was going to happen. So I'm kind of worried as someone who owns Jack Flaherty on a fantasy team that's got a chance to make some money this year, kind of worried about that because he was going to be pitching with no pressure and in relative anonymity in Detroit. Now he goes to LA. won't be, and he's wanted to be. He's an LA kid. He's wanted to pitch in LA before. I will not be surprised if Jack Flaherty suddenly turns, south on them. There was a point in time where he was possibly going to be going to the Yankee Stadium. And if I was thinking if Jack Flaherty was going to pitch for the Yankees, if you've ever seen the movie The Scout, when Michael Rappaport's character makes his MLB debut in Yankee Stadium, I was kind of expecting that's how Jack Flaherty's first start in Yankee Stadium would go. Sure, he's a decent human being. I'm sure he means well, but he just seems like his head is not all in it, and he's kind of been a douchebag to reporters I've seen before. But for the sake of my fantasy team, I hope it does well. And, I'd like to see Shohei Ohtani do more, but I'm just not feeling it with the Dodgers this year. Anyways, back to the ballparks. So then, like I said, Progressive Field held its title for a short little while as being the number one ballpark in America for me. Then I went to Camden Yards. Now, I have been to Camden Yards before because the complex down there, the Raven Stadium and Camden Yards are right next to each other. So I've been to Raven Stadium before. You have to walk through the outfield of Camden Yards, kind of, or not the outfield, but the area behind the outfield to get to a Ravens game. So it's open to walk through that time of day. They obviously closed off during a Ravens game. You can't have a Ravens game and a Orioles game at the same time. They would not have enough parking. It would be a nightmare for that city. But again, with the surrounding area thing going on, this Baltimore gets, again, one of those cities that gets a sketchy reputation. I've seen The Wire. I know that there are parts of Baltimore that do exist. I definitely stayed at a bus station in Baltimore overnight one time. Probably one of the scariest nights of my life. I think I mentioned that on a live stream while I was in Camden Yards. But Camden Yards, you get to that area there, for starters, right down the road, there's a Topgolf and a casino. So if you want to have a bro trip, you could hit up some games at Camden Yards, go hit up Topgolf, and then go be degenerates at the casino. Also nearby, plenty of wonderful dispensaries. I will say I went to a cookie dispensary. They're a company that I believe, you can see being sold. As somebody who is a connoisseur of the THC, or the cannabis, I would say, I've been to quite a few different states as dispensaries. I see cookies at a lot of them. They have their own personal one there. Lovely product. I will just say it kind of felt like I was going to an actual drug house when I was going there. Armed security, just very, very, very sketchy feel. But overall, I mean, it's one of those things. The street looked very, very nice, and I did get gas down the road from there. And I always recall Adam Carolla saying that if you swipe your credit card at a gas pump and it does not ask for your zip code, you're in a good part of town. So I kind of was feeling that way. Then I went into the gas station to pay for something, and there's a guy behind bulletproof glass, and he's got the little sliding locks there. So take for that what you will. Little thing about Baltimore, which was kind of cool, is that when you buy a lighter, they don't have that little annoying safety click on there. So you can, maybe it's for smoking crack. I don't know. But that was a nice little cool thing. But Baltimore itself, inside the stadium, as far as just being a beautiful stadium, that was probably the best baseball game I have been to. As far as in 3 hours, I got all kinds of action as far as you could see. For starters, Jay McCann, who has been a little bit of a social media, or, he's gained some traction on the internet. One of the craziest things I've ever seen. I saw a guy take a 95-mile-an-hour fastball I couldn't tell if it was to the face or if it was to his helmet, because his helmet flew up in the air. But he took a 95-mile-an-hour fastball to the face. I had posted a shorts of me from my seat going, oh my God, this is pretty scary, because he was not moving on the ground for a little bit there. About 20 seconds later, he started moving around and got up. I could not see because his back was to me. Would have been interesting if I was on their side. Apparently, he was just gushing blood. Didn't really know that. They were showing a little bit on the, one thing that's nice about Camden Yards, another little bonus point, they have seats or television so you can see the TV broadcast when you're sitting at the in good seats, I will say, because I do lose the ball and I do lose some vantage points a little bit from where I was sitting. Because I have shade, and when it's 95 degrees and there's shade, and that does not exist at every ballpark, that's just another reason to make Camden Yards that much better. Had some good airflow going there, although the air temperature was 94 degrees, but with the shade, I was totally cool. Also good, I found this one little rare gem, because I didn't see a big line on it. I'm not sure if a lot of people know about this. There is a spot somewhere around the third baseline and home plate, I'd probably say between there, on the floor level of the stadium. It's a little section that you can get everything at the concession stand is $4.10. What's even better about that is you can get 3 hot dogs for $10. That you're not going to eat better at a ballpark than that. Again, I've used this quote a million times before. Humphrey Bogart said that there's nothing better than a hot dog, or said a hot dog at a ball game is better than a steak at the Ritz-Carlton. I agree with him. Also, just realized I forgot to fucking take my laundry out. This is a train wreck. I'll be right back. Mm. All right. I apologize for that. Absolutely awful. I've got to do some better planning on all of this. Yeah, so Camden Yards. Yeah, so James McCann gets hit in the face. Pitcher gets run in the first inning. It was looking like it was going to be a very, very long day. I was actually planning on being there for a double header. And when the first inning takes about a half an hour, you're like, oh, fuck, this is going to really be a pain in the ass. But end of the day, it was an 11-5 final. The Orioles won. If Gunnar Henderson, Gunnar, you really, really let me down. I'll just say that one, and I might have to change my thoughts of him going forward. I have this little bit of a knack for when I see a highly touted baseball player. It does seem like that the good ones have performed when I've shown up. I've seen, the very first time I saw Albert Pujols, I saw him hit 3 home runs in a weekend. I saw Shohei Ohtani hit a home run in a game I was at. I saw Rafael Devers hit 2 home runs in a game I was at. Juan Soto hit 2 home runs in a game that I was at. Just some examples there. Gunnar Henderson, I had a nice same game parlay, which was going to be one of my favorite degenerate experiences ever, because kudos to anybody who lives in Pennsylvania that is not in financial ruins, because you can play blackjack from your phone on FanDuel there. So I played a little bit. I lost like $50. I had a little run going at one point. Lost $50 at the casino, or at the casino on my phone. But then when I was looking around for my account at something, I noticed I had a $25 casino bonus. So knowing that I was going to Baltimore, know that I have to drive through the state of Pennsylvania at some point, I did plot this out because it's the only player I could use, and I couldn't use it in New York. Ended up turning that $25 into actual cash I could bet with. Bet a same game parlay. Every leg of it hits except for Gunnar Henderson having 2 total bases. He had 1 single in his final at bat. He hits almost got a single up the middle, which would have made me a nice winner on the day. It did not happen, but he actually had an error in the fair. He just didn't play his best game, would be the best I would say. And he's kind of been slumping a little, or I wouldn't say he had a little bit of a letdown in the All-Star game at the Home Run Derby. And I remember actually I saw a video of Gunnar from high school where when he was a high prospect, he might, I don't want to say anything bad about a kid like that, but I want to see him, just like Jack Flaherty, show up in the moment. And again, me being at a baseball game is not the pressure that Gunnar Henderson was feeling, but he does seem like, I haven't seen him hit, mashing home runs in a little bit, I don't think. I could be wrong on that one. I need to follow up on a little more of that one. But Gunnar Henderson, which really, really hurt because I was there wearing a Suns Out, Guns Out tank top, which is the most ridiculous look for me because I'm still wearing a Cardinals fan. I do not have what I would call guns, although that looked okay. There's not really much definition going on there. And for anybody that just saw that, me flexing, that's quite a way to tune into a show, I must say, when you see this little ginger here. But again, I have a ginger tan line, as you can see too. That was going on there. I had fucking sleeves on, or I had a sleeveless shirt on, which I've always been a little self-conscious about wearing sleeveless shirts because I'm a George Carlin fan. And I always think of this one George Carlin bit where he talks about his little idea for a summer festival called Slugfest. But he mentions how haven't we had enough of these macho motherfuckers who cut the sleeves off of their shirts and give you an even more compelling experience of smelling their armpits. And then he kind of uses his little tagline. He's like, I say, shut it down, Bruno. Shut it down. You smell like an anchovies cunt, which is one of the greatest burns I've ever heard in my life. And all I was thinking is I was just in a car for 5 hours. I was just about to be in the sun for a while. I basically bathed in sunscreen before I went into the place. I would have had to sit next to somebody if I sat in my actual seat that I paid for. I did not do that. And I kind of told him, I was like, you don't want to sit next to me, bro. All I can think about is that whole thing. But wearing a sleeveless shirt is quite relaxing, I must say. I might start getting into that a little more. Maybe that'll motivate me to get back into, it's just been a couple days off from the gym, but do need to get back at it. But Gunnar didn't do as well, as I mentioned. But other things, there was some great catches in that game. I want to say Colton Cowser robbed Vlad Guerrero of what would have been a nice base hit on a line drive that, again, one of those things as a ball player, made a great swing, made great contact, just got a bad result. Colton Cowser, you tip your cap to him. Play at the plate. The Orioles third base coach, I did a little live from the stands, because I was supposed to see a second game. Unfortunately, there was a weather delay on that one, which gave me some time to then make the decision, okay, let's not stay for game 2 because I got a long drive back. It did allow me to go to a casino because if you go to a game in Philadelphia, there's a casino right in the sports complex there. Just signing up, you get a free play. Then what happens when you don't go for a while, they will send you a free play. So I happen to be 15 minutes away from a casino in Annapolis. Stopped there. I had $30 of theirs. I could have cashed out a couple bucks, but I didn't go there to cash out a couple bucks. I came there to take a swing. Didn't work out, but I didn't give them any of my money. Just played with theirs and got the hell out of there. But 3 hours just nonstop. Actually, if you want to watch the highlights of that game, it was just something else. And just gonna say that Camden Yards is number one on the ballpark list, and that is one that I live closer to Yankee Stadium. I will go back to Camden Yards and drive the double the distance before I go back to Yankee Stadium, unless it's like with a group of people to go see the Cardinals or something like that. But I don't know. I was really mostly trying to tinker around with the live format. I did notice I did a live stream from Camden Yards, and it was from my. I'm just trying to figure this whole thing out. Nobody's probably going to end up watching this, so it is what it is. And anyone that does watch this and makes it through, I appreciate you. That was not an easy watch, and I did not really bring my A game, so not really expecting a lot of traction to come from this one. But we'll just try and get better tomorrow. That's all we can do. But yeah, I gotta stop saying but. That these are There's nothing more. There's nothing more cringeworthy than having to watch the replay of this one. It's something that you have to do when you do this and figure out what you did right, what you did wrong. Not a lot was done right, but all building blocks on this one. But when I went live from walking into Camden Yards, I had quite a few concurrent views on that one, and I'm trying to figure out how I drive more of them. I've been trying to figure out if I do live episodes, does that do me better? Or if I was to just post the recorded videos I'm doing. Got to just tinker around with this one. Probably having a set time that I actually go on here, and actually if I schedule one of those, actually showing up and not fucking up the camera, that's probably going to be the better ideal. But anyways, this was a rough one. I made it through it, and I'm going to really try and do some game planning, maybe even do a little storyboarding for when I go. I'm going to be in 2 weeks going to Minneapolis for Camden Yards, or for Camden Yards, for Target Fields, to watch the Twins, who I have some action on to win the Central. It's not looking so hot right now, but realistically, if you're a Twins fan right now, your entire season comes down to about 10 days from now. You do 4 games against the Indians, or the Guardians, whatever. Cleveland, we'll just call them for now. And then you got 3 against the Royals. Right then and there, those are 7 really, really big games. You got to go 5-2 if you have any chance of winning this. And really, you got to win 3 out of 4 against the Guardians to have a puncher's chance in this one. But I'm going to be there cheering them on, and I'm going to be partying like it's 1999, I guess. So everybody, thanks for tuning into the Scho-Zone. I'll be better back next time. So just give me a like, subscribe, and tell them, bear with it. It's going to get better around football season. Have more people that care to talk football than talk baseball with me. And let's face it, everyone pretends to be an expert with football. Very few of us are.